The Unplayable Podcast is proudly presented by Qantas, the official podcast partner and the official airline partner of Cricket Australia. Once again this season, Qantas is proud to be flying Australia's cricketers as they take on the world. Hello everyone, welcome to the Unplayable Podcast. Big episode coming up for you today with two special guests. But first, let's bring in our ever-reliable co-host, Kane Richardson. How's it going today, mate?
It's good, Josh. Good to be back. Less to talk about for Australia this week. The boys are home and in their own beds, unfortunately. So, yeah, looking forward to this and chewing the fat about some teams we probably don't normally get to talk about.
Yeah, massive episode coming up today. We've got two special guests, as I mentioned off the top. Pommie Mbangwa, the legendary broadcaster from Zimbabwe. He's over there in India, so he's going to give us a bit of a lowdown on what's happening in that tournament post-Australia. And then we've also got Xavier Doherty, the World Cup winning spinner, now match referee. He's going to be joining the show a bit later to talk about some state stuff and what happened back in his day and his views on spin bowling in Australia at the minute, which has been a bit of a talking point after the Ashes series.
Did you say match referee?
That's right.
I wasn't aware of that. When did that happen?
Just this season.
There
He'll fill you in just a few moments, Richo. But
that.
he's moved into a new phase of his cricketing life.
There you go.
Maybe that's something you could look at down the track.
Hadn't thought about it. That was a David Boone thing, wasn't it? He, for years, I don't know if he still does, but yeah, there you go. Probably guys think about umpiring and media and stuff, but probably comfier seats in the match ref office. So look forward to hearing from X.
Let's start with the weekly winner. We didn't do it last week because there wasn't a lot to cheer about. But this week, I think we've got a few things. So why don't we start with your winner of this week?
Again, this segment's always teetering on the edge of surviving every week. So I've given it some thought with that note that we want to keep the weekly winner going. So I had two, just in case you went first.
Okay.
But I'll go to Sammy Harper for mine for his Shield exploits. I don't know if it was in the past week since we last recorded, but I'll go with it anyway. 119 and 141 not out over in the West, carrying on his BBL form where he was striking at obscene numbers and ended my career on Boxing Day. So I'll always have a little sweet feeling for Sammy Harper about doing that. But yeah, his exploits in that game, he's obviously, as I said, continued his form on from BBL. So a worthy weekly winner for mine.
Definitely. And twin tons in Sheffield Shield cricket is pretty rare. It's only happened 5 times in the past decade. So
can you name them?
I did look them up earlier in the week. There was Jake Weatherald, Alex Doolan, Sam Constas, and Daniel Hughes. They're only 4 others to do it. So joins a pretty select group there, doesn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. And as thrown up to the top of the order as well, so to do it in unfamiliar, somewhat standing in the order. So he's obviously just on top of his game and he's getting to that age now where he can really be confident in what he's doing. So Victoria just flying, aren't they? And just another guy who's batting well for them.
And to all those batters who say, opening, it's the hardest position, he's gone up there and he's just made it look easy.
And on the back of Travis Head, basically all summer talking about how easy it was. So those old rusted openers, their stocks are down at the moment, aren't they? For, the 100 years of cricket, how they've said how hard it is. It's basically everyone's thrown that scrapbook out and starting again.
Smoke and mirrors. It's dissipated. Yep. All of a sudden, the smoke screen's down. So sorry, openers. Not a good look. My weekly winner, I've gone for Mitchell Starc. Slotted into the Channel 7 broadcast yesterday as we record this in Brisbane and just absolutely looked the piece, didn't he? He just says all the right things. He's a smooth operator, and when he does eventually hang up the boots in all 3 formats, he's got that commentary gig lined up, I reckon.
Naturally lends itself, doesn't it? The greats always tend to have a good insight into the game, but also, I mean, he's for the women's side of the game as well, to have your wife who's played as much cricket as Alyssa has. So he's got good insights into the different forms of male and female cricket. So he just loves cricket, doesn't he? He retires from T20s and then I'm not going to stay at home and unwind. I'm going to go hit the combox and tour around with the females. Obviously, he's doing it to see Alyssa as much as he can. So, but you're right, natural. I'm not sure he loves the attention though, so maybe we'll have to work on that. He always tends to, likes, kind of just flying under the radar a little bit. So maybe he wants to get himself out there a bit more. So good start for Starkey.
Well, he can get the co-commentators to, ask him good questions about his career and stuff, but he normally tends to, shy away from that sort of stuff, doesn't he? So maybe he'll be looking to do the lead calling in future, go down the Adam Gilchrist path.
the captain of the commentary team.
Yeah.
Similar to you in this setup here.
Well, no, I don't think
You
so.
have to give him some tips and advice on that.
All right, Starkey. I know he listens to the podcast. All right. Let's take a quick break and get a word from our sponsors. And when we come back, we'll be talking to broadcaster Pommie Mbangwa all the way from Mumbai. Well, interest has diminished in Australia since Australia were knocked out of the T20 World Cup, but there's still plenty going on in India and Sri Lanka. So we've called in broadcasting royalty Pommie Mbangwa to give us the update. Welcome to the Unplayable Podcast, Pommie.
Hey, Josh. How are you?
Very well, thank you, mate. Now, this tournament has already thrown up quite a few surprises, but it must be tough to go past Zimbabwe beating Australia in terms of your favourite so far.
Yeah, it would be a favourite, but kind of I wouldn't, and I'm not diminishing that in any way when I say it's kind of doubly good in that they then beat Sri Lanka and top that group with nobody even talking about them prior to the tournament. And I suppose correctly so, because, I mean, if you are to pick out which sides would come out of that group, you'd go for Sri Lanka, who are at home, and you'd go for Australia, both who are former champions, and Zimbabwe's struggles, in terms of the tournaments and so forth, have been there for all to see. So, yeah, expectation of maybe an upset, but then not a couple of wins like that, and then ending up being the team that kind of qualifies as number one.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic to see from a neutral point of view. There was also that incredible double super over between South Africa and Afghanistan. Who saw that coming?
Nobody did. And I wonder if that kind of hardened South Africa just a little bit. Not to say that they need it or aren't tough enough as a side, but I think because they've got so much experience, and because when anyone looked at that group, they would have felt that, you know what, there's the expectation that Afghanistan could also go through with the World Cup being in the subcontinent. You kind of needed to get past them. And yeah, I reckon the most exciting T20 World Cup game ever, because even if it was Erastrum, the drama was ridiculous. And I was actually doing another game. I was over in Colombo doing another game and could hardly keep a watch of what was going on in our game as the other one went from like, okay, this one's done, they're going to win. And then, oh, hold on, super over. Hold on, another super over. What's going on? Can we stop this one? Can we watch that one? So, yeah, fantastic game. And South Africa have gone on from strength to strength from that.
Yeah, and what's your view? Do you think this could be South Africa's year? They've been getting closer and closer at all these ICC tournaments. They obviously won the World Test Championship final. Are they just getting close to that white ball title as well?
I think so. You look at their team, you could have said this of them last time around, but I think it's kind of reinforced this time around, where if you look at their team, what they have is the experience of the conditions here in India, because many of them play in IPL and they're not bits and pieces players. And by bits and pieces of that, I mean they don't kind of get bits and pieces of opportunities when they're in the teams, in the IPL teams. They're actually big players in all the IPL sides that they're in, and they get actual opportunity and are relied upon to try and win games for them. So they've been in the big crowds. They've been in just about every stadium that they're playing in, and they've therefore been able to somewhat appreciate and try and handle the pressure that's before them with the big crowds. And that's what they're going to have to handle here. They seem to handle it pretty well against India, despite being, before 120,000 people. So, yeah, you could say that. But you know how it is, tournament cricket, you've got to put it together when it counts, knockouts, all of that is when we're really going to see whether they can. But prior to coming here, actually, I felt that India, South Africa, West Indies, I think now, and it's just, we're a long way out still, I believe. Now, the other team that you're looking at and you're going, oh, hold on, they'll be dangerous, is probably England, because they're not playing as well as they'd like, but they're still coming through games, and they might well win in the end. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, let's see how they go.
Yeah, if things click for England, it could really be danger signs for the rest of the tournament, I suppose. In terms of India, they had that big loss to South Africa that you alluded to there in Ahmedabad. It's the first tournament without Rohit, without Kohli. Is this a danger sign for India, or is that the nature of T20 cricket where you can have an off day?
They're a powerhouse side, but I think they'll admit they're not necessarily playing as well as they can. A couple of players not quite in form. Their skipper wasn't in form when they came in to the tournament, but he's finally got some runs. But the tournament hasn't gone as well as they'd like. I mean, you think about that first game against the USA, they were put under the pump, and if Sky doesn't get those runs, then they don't win. And I hate saying things like that because, of course, he's supposed to get them. Someone's supposed to bail them out. They're all in the team. They're all supposed to try and perform and get the runs and then, kind of formulate the win then. But it's a first loss for them in T20 World Cup since last year, 2 years ago when they played. They went unbeaten and won it, and we're kind of just carrying on. And suddenly they've taken and it wasn't a slight beating. They were absolutely walloped. So can they come back from that is the question. And not just a question from are they good enough players? Of course they are. They're fantastic players. But suddenly the pressure is on them and they can't put a foot wrong. And unlike in the group stage, even when playing against Zimbabwe, if they give Zimbabwe an opportunity, Zimbabwe, might turn them over. So can they kind of tread surely and ensure that they win against them, and then they still have to win against a West Indies side that's looking particularly good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, let's see how that goes.
Yeah, the West Indies put on a huge score against Zimbabwe just the other night. But to make the Super 8s must be a massive thing for Zimbabwe. What will this do for cricket, do you think, in the country?
You're just always trying to take steps forward. You want to be at the big table, the big boys table, and winning. And by that, I don't mean, Zimbabwe's got test status. They've had test status since 1993, but they've kind of been fits and starts in terms of momentum for a little bit, do well in one and people sort of look, and then you don't, and people avert their eyes. And so you want to kind of be playing at this level, even though the West Indies absolutely challenge Zimbabwe. But that's the pressure you want to be under. And here they get an opportunity in 3 games. Now, there's the possibility it happens that way in 3 games in a row. But it still does a great deal for the players that are there to understand and feel the intensity of playing against those sides. And you want it to not remain as something foreign, but something that you're continually experiencing, because then you raise yourself to the level and you don't have an option. You have to. Something that is impossible to simulate or to replicate in practice is, the pressure of big teams, good teams, and the level that you're supposed to be at. So you think you're stretching yourself, you think you're going as hard and as well as you can, but it's not quite there. And then suddenly, you can't legislate for adrenaline, for instance. You can't do 25 and 30,000 people in a stadium. You've got to be there for that to be able to experience that. So, I think it'll do good things. It'll get more people interested. It'll get more people wanting to get a taste of that. And I hope the team can go from strength to strength with this.
Yeah, they've got some absolute match winners. Always good to watch those sort of players playing. Now, everyone in Australia here has had their say on what went wrong for Australia, so it might be good to get an objective point of view from someone like yourself. Where did things not quite go right for Australia, do you think?
In looking at the Australian side, champion players, but perhaps just no form. Travis Head goes into the tournament without form. Then you go with the injury. Such an important part of that Australian side is Travis Head and Mitchell Marsh at the top. And then the injuries also, like to Hazelwood, is such an important player. So a whole disjointed affair as they go in. And I don't think at the start in Sri Lanka was helpful to the Australians. I think the planning might not quite have been up to par. And maybe just from a slight oversight, which I believe is rare from the Aussies, actually. A slight oversight. If you look at the team that they kind of had some resources. in. We want players who can play spin. Smith was left behind because of that. They had the top okay because that's where he'd been batting. And so they didn't want to go with the same sort of players. So Head, Marsh, they're going to play every time. And if you have Smith as well, he kind of has to bat, number one or number two, because that's where he's been batting. You probably could put him in at number three, which would have probably been a better move now when we think about it in hindsight. But that's easy, right? We can say that now. But when I look at Cameron Green, when I look at the hitters that are in the side, they need the harder, faster wickets. Even if I say harder than Sri Lanka, which exists here in India, that's kind of what they would have wanted and would have felt, rightly so, champion side, that they'll get through the group and then they'll deal with all of that when they get to India and play at Wankhede and play at Chennai, which has got lots of runs this time around, and play at Delhi, which is small, hard, and you can whack sixes. But you got to get through the slow ones of Sri Lanka first. So, yeah, that kind of, it happens, man. Like, you can get derailed, even to the best of them. Think of Football World Cups where main teams pop out of the group stage and they're like, oh, what's going on and all of this. It's perhaps an opportunity to kind of just have a look. One, to know that Cummins, Stark, Hazelwood, that trio who've been so fantastic, it's coming to an end. It comes to an end for everybody. Think back to Gillespie, Lee, McGrath together, and when that happened, everyone was like, oh, what? And as I think about it, actually, from them to these guys, right? So that's a long time going, and that happens whether it's the bowling side or the batting side, and maybe Australia is in that time now.
Pommie, really appreciate your time, mate. Before we let you go, do you want to stick your neck out and tell us who are the two teams that are going to make the final?
I started off before the tournament. I said India, South Africa. I'm wondering now. I'm not sure now. I think South Africa will still be in the final. I'm not too sure about West Indies, but the four teams I'm looking at, I can't do two. I'm going to go West Indies, South Africa, England, India.
Yeah.
Those are the four teams I'm looking at. Might be wrong. I mean, you can be wrong. I don't mind being wrong because I always think, I wonder if Pakistan you sneak up on everyone. I don't know, but that's why we love it, right? Because you go according to the form or whatever. But in tournament cricket, it's not how you start. It's what happens right at the back end. So yeah, let's see how it goes.
Amazing. Thank you for your time, mate, and enjoy the rest of the tournament.
All right. Cheers, Joe.
So there you go. Thanks to Pommie Mbangwa for joining us from the breakfast room at his hotel there. He was just about to jump on a flight to Chennai. So we appreciate him making the time. And those scrambled eggs, they sounded good in the background. I'm interested to hear your thoughts here, Richo. He's a big fan of England, big fan of the West Indies. Does that sort of line up with what you're thinking as far as this tournament goes?
Well, it's anyone's now, isn't it? Especially with what we've seen in the last few days with India's first game against South Africa in the group stages. So it's really blown the race wide open. They were my pick last week, South Africa. So
they were, yeah.
I had a bit of a head wobble when I saw that scorecard when I woke up. But I also stupidly said Nicholas Pooran was batting well for the West Indies. He actually isn't playing in the World Cup, is he? So I'll rescind that comment. I think I might have had a dream that he came out of retirement for the World Cup, but obviously that was someone else. Boots on the ground tend to know a bit better than what we do back here. So I dare say England surprised me a little bit, but you also, what he said was they're not playing that well and they're winning, which is always a good sign. And that's historically Australian teams have always had that motto, as long as they're doing enough in this stage of World Cups. And then you kind of want to play your best cricket when the whips are cracking in the finals. So hurts to say, but he's probably right. I think, they're the ones. West Indies, again, are batting well. They 250 the other night against Zimbabwe, so they're in form. And, South Africa, India's the one if they can still manage to make it, which they obviously can, but it's going to be hard. So they're probably the 4, aren't they?
Yeah, and the West Indies, they just have so much firepower, but they do seem like a side that if they're off, they're going to be totally hopeless. But when they're on, they're sort of unbeatable, aren't they? So their highs and lows, there's a big difference between the two.
Well, that's a common West Indies kind of trait as well, isn't it? Playing against them is the unpredictable nature, especially if they're batting. Like it's always been the last 20 years have been powerhouse in terms of they could make a 250. But yeah, I guess with that is the double-edged sword of when it doesn't go well. So their bowling's still doing enough as well. It's hanging in there and staying competitive. And again, the toss in those conditions is going to be a crucial factor if they manage to chase. At Mumbai or these grounds where they're small and dew comes in, then it's going to be all in their favour. So, yeah, it's going to be a thrilling finish for sure.
And from an England point of view, Harry Brook, their captain, he hadn't made a lot of runs, but then he got that century against Pakistan. They got there with 5 balls to spare in a big chase. It's not great from an Australian point of view to see the English doing well, but it just feels like they are starting to find that momentum. And they might try to get things to click as we head into the business end.
And I think for someone like that, making runs as well is such a big part of that because he's middle order player, he's one of the better middle order batsmen in the world. So to have him hitting some form now, as we said, as we start to get to the business end is such a crucial part of it. Their batting order, again, throughout, most of these teams are, when you look at their batting order, they're going to be stacked. But there's some players there that haven't fired a shot yet that we know are world beaters and some of the best in the world at T20 cricket. So I guess that's what Pommie's talking about, isn't it? That they've got so much room for improvement and they haven't really shown it yet and they're still winning. So as much as we had it as Australians, our time has come and gone. The Ashes are gone. So we've got to move on. And if England win the World T20, then so be it. We'll be fine.
Now, I posed it to Pommie that given this is the first tournament that India are playing without Rohit and without Virat, is it the start of a new era and are they still, the team to beat? They lost in Ahmedabad again, which is only the second time after, or the first time after they lost to Australia in that ODI World Cup final. And it just feels like there's definitely a different vibe around this Indian side. Obviously, there's still a lot of match winners in there, but do they still have do they still know how to win without those senior heads in that group?
What was his kind of take on that?
Well, he said that they're still powerhouse and they can still do it. And they've, of course, got Jasper Bumrah. So with him in their side, that's 4 free overs, basically.
Exactly. You still got that guy. I think the beauty of what they always have in their favour is the IPL, like how it's going to keep unearthing that next generation of cricketer. And we've seen it with, the Abhishek coming in and guys like that who you wouldn't normally see get an opportunity probably until later in their careers. All of a sudden they've played 50, 60 IPL games, which are the equivalent of international games with the pressure that they're under and he's been flying. So it is a good point. It probably lacks leadership on field when things are going wrong. You would love to look around and see Virat and Rohit there or one of them be captain calling the shots. Again, they've won IPLs, they've won World Cups, they've done it when it matters. So that's without knowing exactly the inner sanctum, I would dare say that's when they're missed the most. Obviously, they're batting as well, but having that calm leadership on field and that passion that Virat brings, they're definitely going to take a while to replace that, but no doubt this next generation will at some point.
Okay. Well, yeah, there are some really exciting games coming up. We've got West Indies against South Africa tonight, India and Zimbabwe also. That's on Thursday night. And then England take on New Zealand on Friday night. I reckon that'll be a really interesting one as well because the Kiwis, well, they're perennial semi-finalists, it seems like, at ICC tournaments. So they might also find a way to sneak their way into the Final Four.
And no one's spoken about them,
That's right.
usual,
yeah.
Isn't it? It's like every year or every edition of either a 50 or a T20 World Cup, they find a way,
They're
as you
always
say.
there.
Semi-finalists, final, they're like cockroach. You just can't kill them. They just come back. So we do enjoy their work as well because they're our neighbours, aren't they?
They are. We have to look after them.
We do.
Let's move on to some test stuff. Then some news this week that Australia's tour to South Africa to happen later this year. The dates have been announced. They're going to play 3 ODIs and 3 test matches. The first time the test team has returned since the sandpaper scandal in 2018. So it's been a long time between drinks. And those test matches are going to be in Durban. They're going to be in Port Elizabeth, now known as Gqeberha, and Cape Town, of course, the scene of the crime. So 3 very interesting scenarios. And it's going to be a really good series to watch, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. The 2 World Test Championship finalists. So
Yeah.
there's that little aspect of it as well, but also nice for the Aussies to get back into the swing of Test cricket after what we saw in the Ashes. You know, you got the Northern Test coming up and then into that. So cricket watching dream. South African Test matches are always great to watch. There's always something happening. The games are never boring. There's always enough in it for bowlers there. Similar conditions to Australia, but yeah, there's always enough. And as you say, you had that intrigue of not touring in what will it be? 8 years, well, over 8 years since that, which is weird how the world or the future tours program works when you've got, it feels like we're playing every other team all the time and then you don't go to South Africa to play a Test series for 8 years is a bit silly because they always are such spicy encounters. So, yeah, that's one to look forward to.
But, I mean, they're both spicy on the field, but also the crowds seem to be pretty ferocious over there. I mean, I haven't been. You've played over there in South Africa. Did you feel that when you were there, and do you think it's going to be the case again when they return, the Aussies?
Absolutely no doubt it'll be the case again. There was that series, it wasn't just sandpaper, but remember Rabada was elbowing, I think from memory it was that same series where did he get suspended a game for elbowing or he got
fined or
whatever,
yeah.
which we don't tend to see in cricket, do we?
No.
So, and then we had all the other stuff that was going on with the crowd, some of the, the dress ups and the way they just get into the game is very similar to the way Australian crowds do it. So I think it's similar in terms of they hate Australia. They want to beat us. And I remember touring an Outback tour years ago, just before COVID. We're playing up in Potchefstroom, and it's again they didn't get a heap of cricket at that time, so they had one ODI and they made the most of that 100 overs that day. I think it was the last ODI I ever played, and pretty happy getting off that field and never playing again. The way I got spoken to on the boundary. So
wow, okay,
yeah, but again, all in good spirit, but it's relentless.
Yeah, wow. And I suppose there was also in that tour, there was the on-field stuff, and then there was the stuff on the stairwell or in the stairwells between the two teams. So there must be some grounds where those change rooms sort of are really close to overlapping with each other.
Well, I think from memory that was Port Elizabeth, which is now known as
Gabera.
Yeah, so I didn't want to say it, but you say it a lot better.
I did a bit of research this morning just to get that right.
Google Translate and pronunciation. Yeah, from memory, the stairs are basically the same, and then the change rooms go the separate way. So I don't know if they've redeveloped the ground since then, but the tunnel vision, the tunnel cam will be hot property. Maybe they can live stream that. Press red on your remote and you get the stairwell vision as well. So, but obviously personnel have probably changed slightly, haven't they, with some of the key figures in that stoush. So
the chances of us seeing Faf du Plessis in a towel again are probably pretty slim.
Well, you never know. He might come out of retirement. As I said, I had this dream about Pooran doing it. Maybe Faf will come back for this series. Quinny de Kock, Davey Warner. Maybe the band will get back together and we'll reignite the rivalry.
On your Pooran comment, I did have to also say that I was a fan of Sri Lanka's chances this tournament. And then since then, they've lost to Zimbabwe, and then they lost again the other night.
But at least they're there competing. So I feel like you don't even try and make the two. Like he's not even in. I don't know where he is. He's probably off playing somewhere, playing golf or something. So at least you were somewhat.
Okay, that's true. Yeah. Okay, the women's series. India won the T20s 2-1, and now Australia have won the first ODI at Allan Border Field by 6 wickets, with more than 10 overs to spare. They got those runs. Alyssa Healy came back with 50. Beth Mooney got 76. And Annabelle Sutherland with 48 not out. I feel like she's a bit underutilised in that T20 side. She's so far down the order. We're all thinking along the lines of Louis Cameron. She's the Belinda Clark medalist, so let's get her up the order, get her into the game. Maybe the Aussies could look to do what they did with Tim David in the men's side and get a really powerhouse player further up that order. And then we also had Mitchell Starc on comms. So there's lots to talk about there. The Scoop podcast, they do it really well. Rana Hussain and Molly Strano, they cover off this series really well. So jump over there if you're interested. Just search for the Scoop Cricket Podcast on all the podcast platforms. Sarah Coit is this week's special guest. And she's got an unbelievable record in the WNCL, as well as a very fine international career about a decade ago now. But Richo, she's played in 10 WNCL finals across 3 states, New South Wales, South Australia and Tasmania, and she's won them all. And now she's qualified for her 11th this season. You'd be a brave person to bet against her.
Good luck charm. 10 from 10. That's, You know how they get rings in?
Yeah.
She's got every
finger.
and
She's
thumb.
Move on to her toes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, good point. I was going to say she almost doesn't need to play this because she's got nothing left to. But you're right. You can get toe rings, can't you? So that's an amazing record. That'd be unrivaled in any sporting code in the world. So to go 11 for 11, New South Wales, good chance that they win with her in the team. So yeah, incredible start.
Yeah, and I found it incredible that, as you'll hear when you listen to that interview, that she's away from the game to keep fit. She's a gym trainer. She does CrossFit. She does high rocks, all those sort of really intense physical performances. I know you love that side of the game as well, but that's how she keeps going, keeps fit and keeps active.
Well, she would be similar age to what I am, if not a little bit older, and she's still playing. And I said last week, Jackson Bird, Peter Siddle, all those guys you got to admire. So Coity to still be playing. I do remember when she was in South Australia, she'd always be in the gym, just pumping. And like some of our guys, myself included, would not want to be in the gym when she is because she would definitely upstage us. So yeah, I mean, amazing chat to have her insights. And again, that record that she speaks of, unrivaled. So tune into that.
Absolutely. Now let's move on to the Big Four this week. Richo, I posted to you just yesterday that we wanted to get your Big Four this week. And the Big Four I want to get from you is the best bowling actions that you've seen. So who's on the list?
So when you say best, you mean my take on if I saw someone bowling, I wish I could bowl like that, like most beautiful robotic technique.
Well, not robotic, maybe smooth, maybe.
Smooth. Yeah, okay. So built in a lab kind of thing if you're going to pick your okay. Well,
yeah. Is that sort of what you went for?
It was, but I had a backup just in case you were after something slightly more unique because everyone has different tastes, don't
most
they?
Unique bowling action.
Well, you could say good, bad and ugly, but we won't say ugly. So I've gone a couple of all-timers and then a couple of current players that I enjoy. So my all-timers are Brett Lee.
Yep.
I tried to emulate that in the backyard all the time.
Absolutely.
And the celebration as well that came with it. But again, if I was to say a guy was born in the lab to bowl, the action, the way he ran in, everything was towards the batsman. And that's what we talk about as bowlers. We want everything going towards the batsman. So he was...
So is he your number 4 or your number 1?
He's my number... Well, no, there's no number 1 and 4. They're all in the same group.
Right.
But he's an all-timer.
Yeah. And that celebration, the chainsaw, did you ever bring that out?
Only in
Not
the
just
backyard.
in the backyard, but on game day?
Only in the backyard.
Okay.
I was never cool enough to do that. So only in the backyard. But I definitely did it all the time. My second one is Shane Bond. And personally for me, so the way I just loved Shane Bond. He was probably my favourite bowler growing up. I had the poster of Brett Lee, but I wanted to bowl like Shane Bond. The way he swung the ball, but the way he tormented Australia, but the way his action was, I think it was just perfect, rhythmic, 145 in swingers, destroying Australia in those old, one-day series where basically every year it was New Zealand out here playing ODI cricket against Australia. So
yeah.
They're my two all-timers. And
the ball would be brown by the end of the 50 overs.
And he'd be bowling reverse swing, in swingers, Yorkers, back of the hand slow balls, 6 for every game. Like just a genius. So I loved his work. And then from the current crop, Marley Beardman.
Okay, really?
And Jordan Buckingham. I think they're the two that...
Bucky, really? Okay.
I remember Bucky reminds me a little bit of Dale Steyn, and I could have easily had him in the list, but I thought I'll give the current crop some love. Beardman, from what I've seen live, and then also I remember cricket.com put up him bowling in the nets on the Aussie camp last year. I just kept watching that on loop. I was like, this is just beautiful. Just the way he the run up is everything. And then I've got a couple of honourable mentions.
Oh, okay, I like
Jofra Archer.
Yeah.
Just natural, rhythmic.
Just strolls in.
Effortless, strolls in. And then one that's going to raise some eyebrows, Mohammed Shami.
Mohammed Shami, yeah, okay.
Because he looks like it hurts every single time. But again, runs in, never looks fit, never looks like
he sort of waddles in.
Like stutters. Every ball looks different. 145 Ks on a dime, reverse swing. Just a genius. So they're probably the bowlers I love watching the most over the time.
At his very best with the white ball, Shami, just unplayable, isn't it?
Yeah.
And can send it both ways. So
and even in Test cricket, the limited stuff we saw, but just always seemed to get the job done. But I just love the way he waddled in and got it down there. So
does Bumrah come into this sort of conversation or not really?
That's the unique category. I had some names in there, and he's obviously one.
Yeah. Who else are you?
Malinga,
yeah.
Paul Adams, famous. for going back a bit for people who wouldn't know, but spinner from South Africa, Frog in a Blender, is that what his nickname was for a long time?
Give us a demonstration.
Well, it was kind of his head went one way and his arm followed somehow lower than what his head was. Zaman Khan's another one from the BBL exploits. And there's another one I'll show you a quick glimpse of. But this is a guy from the IPL back in 2016 I remember watching in my hotel.
Oh, okay.
Shivil Kaushik.
Kaushik, yeah, okay. Yep.
So
who did he play for there? What team is that?
That's the old Gujarat
Yep.
Lions, I think, but they're the unique category. So
we're gonna have to get that picture up on our socials so the listeners can hear. But yeah, Kaushik, I do remember vague memories of a very unusual, sort of uncomfortable looking action.
It hurt watching it.
Yeah.
Laying in bed, it hurt. So I don't know if he kicked on and played more IPL, if he still plays somewhere, but maybe that's a deep dive we'll do after the pod. But yeah, I've gone both categories there, so I've really covered bases. So
Very
no
good
captain's
list.
call needed this week.
Very good. That's what I like to hear. And if you do want to submit your favourite or most unique bowling actions, get them into podcast@cricket.com.au or on the cricket.com.au Instagram page. That's where you can hit us up and let us know. So
yeah, give me some feedback. Who have I missed? Have I missed anyone? Top of the head, you said Bumrah was probably the only one.
I thought you would have gone with your old mate Frankie Worrell in there with that run up and the.
But it's pretty. I mean, he's straightened up now. He used to be from mid-off.
Oh, so because he's straightened up,
it's pretty run of the mill.
Yeah,
it's a good bowling action. That's it.
All right, let's take a quick nod to our sponsors, and then we'll come back with Xavier Doherty, the new match referee and the former Australian spinner. Pleasure to be joined by former Australian and Tasmanian spinner Xavier Doherty. Welcome to the Unplayable Podcast, mate. How are you?
Thanks, Josh. Yeah, great to be with you. I'm really well, thanks. I've been busy with cricket again this summer, which has been nice. It's I've been out of the game for a little while, so it's been nice to be back in it and talking cricket, which is both one of the big parts of my life over the journey. So nice to be joining you.
Well, that's a perfect segue because I reckon a lot of eagle-eyed fans would have noticed on a few scorecards that the match referee is ex-Doherty. So how have you got into that and what brought that about?
Yeah, well, like I said, I'd been away from the game, pretty much since I retired from domestic cricket in like 2017. I sort of dabbled in coaching and pretty quickly found it wasn't for me. So I went and lived a completely different life for 7 or 8 years. I went and got myself a trade and did something completely different and just enjoyed, a normal life for a bit, to be honest. But yeah, in the last 12 months, just had myself thinking about what I might like to do and what I might like to do within the game of cricket. And there was a job advertised through Cricket Australia as a match referee. And I've sort of been making my way a little bit around the country, but mainly based in Hobart, doing, hanging around some Shield games and some Second 11 games, WNCL, WBBL, and even stuck in a BBL game when David Johnson went down late with some illness. So it's been a bit of a hectic summer, but one I've really enjoyed, seeing it from a different side of the fence and working with the umpires and making sure players are doing all they should be doing. So thoroughly enjoyed it, being back involved in the game and seeing it in a completely different way.
Obviously, there's a lot of work behind the scenes, but what does it actually entail being a match referee? What are the main things you've got to get done?
Well, you'll see a lot of the match refs at the toss, and that's sort of where our day kicks off, I guess. It's basically just making sure the game runs as it should. The umpires obviously have a role to do out on the ground, and they do the best they can, and they'll make decisions. Most will be right, a few will be wrong. We sort of evaluate that at the end of the day and work with the captains just on assessing the umpires and just making sure the game runs smoothly, basically, and working with the umpires and the captains and the players to make sure everyone's holding up their end of the bargain and curators, obviously, and sort of just watching over the game. I know they do pan to us occasionally and we're sitting up there and it looks like we're just cruising through, but we are working, I can assure you. So and over rates also play a big part of it. It's probably not the most interesting topic, but it certainly plays a big part in the role that we have.
It doesn't matter the format. It seems like we're always talking about over rates. So it's an ever-present problem, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
I've also noticed that you've been doing some commentary on the Tasmanian matches, live streams on cricket.com.au and KO Sports. And Tasmania, they're looking pretty strong in the One Day Cup at the minute, aren't they? They're going to host the final on March 11th.
They are, yeah. So I've been sort of doing a bit of the live stream when I've had some spare days or spare weeks. I'll pop in and join a few of the local media celebrities down here in Hobart who sort of call the game, and I'll go in and give my special comments. But it's been a good way to sort of be back at the cricket and watching it, and for those that tune in, an insight into what's going on out in the field. So yeah, it's been good. Tasmania have done really well in the One Day Cup. They were unbeaten until I think for 5 games, and then lost the last 2, a really close one against WA, and then most recently they got beaten by New South Wales, which was a bit of a thumping, to be honest, down here in Hobart. So they do have a very good team. I think that the team they'll take into the final will be a little different to the one they put out in the park last time round. So they look like they're in a good space. They're still in the hunt for the Shield as well, Tasmania. So of course I've got to keep neutral and just watch what I say. And wearing a couple of different hats certainly makes it interesting. But being able to watch it and bring it to those who tune in has been good fun.
Now, Tassie haven't won the One Day Cup for 16 years, but if we back it up back to your career, you actually won the One Day Cup 3 times, according to my research. Does that sound right? And
that's right, yeah. Yep.
And one of those titles was a really close 1-wicket victory over Victoria. The scores were about 150 versus 130-ish, and Duckworth Lewis came into play, and you got 4 wickets yourself. Can you take us back to that day? It seems like an amazing final.
Yeah, it was. Like about that era, there was a 4 or 5 year span where us and Victoria just played some really good, tight one-day cricket, and hard, and it was tough. And, the Dave Hussey and Hodge and Quiney and all those guys were Cameron White, obviously, like that. It was not that teams aren't littered with stars, but it just felt like every batter you came up against was just another one who's going to give you some headaches when you played Victoria. Yeah, but that One Day Cup against the Vics here in Hobart, I didn't get man of the match, which is a bit of source of frustration. Brett Jeeves, I think, took 3 for 30 and knocked over the top order and made some runs. In the meantime, when the game was on the line, I ran down the wicket and got stumped off Bryson again for a duck. So that's probably what cost me. But yeah, like you say, it was a tight contest. Influenced by the rain later, and it actually snowed. What was it? Mid-February. It actually snowed on Mount Wellington later that night. So our celebrations were not so much sitting around in a beer garden somewhere, but tucked away in an old English style pub and celebrating that way, because it was like a middle of winter. It was like middle of winter in the middle of February down here.
That's hilarious. And so it must have come right down to the wire. As you said, Travis Burt got 37. Then Ben Hilfenhaus was at the other end. He was the number 11 that day. He only had to face 2 balls, and Travis Burt got the job done at the other end.
Yeah, well, Bertie was one of those really reliable. He didn't play. He might have played the odd game for Australia in the end. Bertie played a few the shortest format for Australia, but like just one of the. He was a great cricketer to watch. One of my favourite cricketers to watch, Travis Burt. So entertaining and so reliable, particularly in the shortest form of the game. So, yeah, he held us together. As I mentioned, I was not much help. I think I faced 3 balls and then ran down the wicket like a hero and tried to get on with it. And then Hilf, who I think Hilf became a really good batter later in his career, but found himself batting at 11 just at that moment. But his improvements were to come. But, yeah, importantly for us, he held on long enough. I guess Shane Harwood, I reckon, would have been those 2 balls that he had to face. And Harwood at the time was top of his game, bowling really fast and not nice to be facing as a number 11. So, yeah, fortunately for us, Bertie got the job done, and, yeah, a little bit of help from Hilf.
Yeah, you mentioned some of those Victorian players there. Hodge, Hussey, White. They also had Andrew McDonald, Michael Klinger, Rob Quiney. Were there any players in particular that you really enjoyed getting out?
Dave Hussey was no doubt my favourite guy to get out. Not that it happened that often, which is why I actually think I did get him out that day in the final. But it didn't happen very often. Dave Hussey absolutely bullied me in all forms of cricket. I played a lot of cricket for Australia, dominated state cricket, Huss. So I ended up playing a little bit of international cricket with him as well. So I got to know him away from the ground as well. So, but yeah, certainly knocking Dave Hussey over was a nice moment that day. And yeah, like I said, I'm trying to think of it off the top of my head now. I'm not sure it happened too many other times. So, yeah, to get it done in the final was nice.
Well, Huss had a decent run in the Aussie side, and you had a good period as well yourself, about 5 years in the one-day side and a couple of years in the T20 side. That included going to the 2012 T20 World Cup, which was the last time that this tournament was held in Sri Lanka, similar to this one at the minute. What is it about playing in Sri Lanka that just seems so different to playing in other subcontinental places? It just seems like it's a different ballgame, even when you compare it to somewhere so close like India.
Yeah, well, people look at Indian cricket and they watch the Test cricket and they see the wickets spin and bounce and are really foreign conditions for, well, particularly Australian players. But their one-day cricket is not like that. Their one-day cricket, they're really high-scoring matches, fast wickets, smallish grounds. Whereas in Sri Lanka, the short, the T20 games, particularly in Colombo, the ball was spinning sideways, absolutely spinning sideways. They, playing on used wickets, reused wickets, damp wickets. Most of the time, because there's a heck of a lot of rain going on. I think we played in September. Well, we did play in September because my daughter was born mid-tournament. That 2012, I ducked home for 5 days for my daughter to be born, and then I went back to the World Cup. So I missed a game, but. So it was September. So I don't know if that's monsoon season, but I know there was quite a bit of rain around, and they've had similar for this tournament as well. But yeah, the T20 games, the wickets are really stoppy and starty, and a lot of bounce as the Aussies found when they took on their games at the Premadasa as well. So they really are foreign conditions even in T20 cricket.
And I saw in a few of those scorecards you were bowling in tandem with Brad Hogg. I can't imagine you would have bowled in tandem with another left-arm spinner on too many occasions.
Yeah, well, there's an interesting one. And like I say, I think Glenn Maxwell played in that team as well, and more often than not would have bowled his allotment of overs. So that probably suggests how the conditions that we were playing in. There was lots of spin being thrown at us, and we tried to sort of combat that a little bit as well. Not so successfully when we took on the West Indies eventually, but Hoggy was another guy who I'd watched a lot on TV, but never really had much to do with him until that tournament. So to spend a couple of weeks on tour with Hoggy was certainly very interesting, and he did quite well. I think he was in his 40s by then, or touching 40. So a pretty amazing effort for someone of his age. Not to be disrespectful, to be playing at the highest level.
Well, I mean, what are you doing? You should still be out there if that's the case.
Well, he's making me look stupid now, isn't he? So, unfortunately, I love watching the game, but my love of playing sort of dwindled a little while ago. So, no, he can have that one.
Well, you mentioned you played against the West Indies in the semi-final. They got the better of you guys on that occasion, and they went on to win the tournament. But do you have any memories of that game in particular? Because at their very best, the Windies are an incredible T20 side.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I had Marlon Samuels plum LBW early on, which I won't out the umpire, but he didn't do me any favours that day.
No reviews available?
No review. I don't think we weren't playing reviews at that time in T20 cricket, so I didn't have that one to rely on. Yeah, it didn't. I think George was the captain and sort of tried to get Gale and Pollard and just sort of throw pace at them, which was good, but it didn't work, which sort of meant that he saved a lot of the spin for later on in the innings. So unfortunately, I found myself bowling the 19th and 20th over and not faring so well against a couple of the biggest hitters in world cricket at that time. So, unfortunately, I think they looked like they were going to score sort of 180, 190, and eventually, you might have the scorecard in front of you there, Josh. It was 220-ish, I reckon. So, which in the end was too many for us. So, despite playing some pretty good cricket to that point, that's the nature of tournament cricket. You have one bad day or a little bad 5 overs, and it sort of cost us. So we found ourselves heading home early.
Yeah, 4 for 205, so not quite as many as that, but a good score nonetheless.
Yeah, well, it sort of felt like 220 when I was out there bowling. Like it just seemed like every second or every ball was going either over the fence or to it. So it wasn't nice to be honest, but a bit of a daunting, but a learning period in my cricket, no doubt.
And now that you're back in the cricket scene, you would have watched a fair bit this summer. What are your thoughts on the spin bowling scene at the minute in Australian cricket, particularly the men's side of things? We didn't see a lot of it during the Ashes, and there's been a lot of green pitches. Where do you think we're going with spin bowling in this country?
Well, yeah, and like you mentioned, I've been doing a bit of the Shield streaming down here in Hobart. And to be honest, you hardly see any spin bowling. You rarely see it. You see international spinners playing in the game, but they rarely bowl. Matt Kuhneman has barely bowled for Tasmania this year. We had the New South Wales guys down here last week, and Tanveer Sangha hardly bowled. Joel Davies played that and didn't really bowl a lot. So it is a tough scene for the spinners, and it felt like it was tough when I was playing. I think it's got even harder for them to make an impact. So I know that Corey Roccacelli's doing really well in Perth. The WACA over the last few years has started to take a bit of spin, and he's watching him develop, and his skill set's been really impressive. Todd Murphy is obviously doing well, and Mitch Swepson got some wickets last week in the one day game, which was good as well. So and that's the other thing, when one day games sort of get cut back, I think it's down to 7 now. There used to be 10. That's 3 opportunities where spinners don't get to sort of be at the forefront and show their skills. But when particularly there's a shortage in Shield cricket, so it is a really tough game, and it was hard to watch that. And I don't blame the Aussies for not picking a spinner in that SCG test. You've got to pick the team that's the best chance of winning it. But it is a shame that we've got to the point where a ground like the SCG, which is so well known for producing top class spin performances, is now you sort of rely on your part timers. So hopefully it comes back. And I know the Aussies travel to India next year. They're going to be relying on some spinners to stand up and be counted. And if they're going to be a chance in that series, they'll need to get some games and some time into them and get their confidence up and be well prepared. So I'm sure Cricket Australia are aware of it, and they're doing all they can. But we've got quicks that are in the twilight of their career, and we can't rely on them forever. So yeah, maybe, and they've been generational, unbelievable. They'll go down in history as some of the best we've seen, but they're not going to be around forever. So we might have to look at other avenues of getting 20 wickets in a test match. So maybe spin will be it.
Yeah, and you mentioned Roccacelli and Murphy and Swepson there. Are there any other maybe younger spinners who have caught your eye across this season?
Younger. Well, I know it's been so tough. Like Tanveer Sangha is a guy who's particularly played the shorter format and done quite well. But like I mentioned, it's been so hard to get any opportunities in Shield cricket. It's been tough. Like Cooney down here in Hobart, I know he was injured for a little part of the start of the Shield season. Then he goes away with the Aussies and sort of misses an opportunity to play a lot of Shield cricket there as well. So there are some really good spinners out there. So the cupboard's not bare, but in an ideal world, you'd like to see them getting some opportunities, bowling a lot of overs, but also a lot of overs when it's it's spinning, and they've got a chance to be a match winner and put up some really good numbers. Because for those people who don't watch Shield cricket and they just sort of check in on a scorecard, they'll see that Swepson only got 1 wicket in the 4th innings, or Roccacelli only gets 3 for the game, but it doesn't sort of reflect their performances. So yeah, it's tough going out there, and certainly like I mentioned, when they go to the subcontinent, they'll have the ball thrown to them in the the 5th over, and it's like good luck. If we don't have them bowling in similar conditions, and that's their first taste of it, it's not as easy as it sounds just to flick a switch and start trying to win a game for your country if you haven't been doing a lot of it.
Yeah, that's right. Now, before I let you go, Xavier, I want to ask, lots of great highlights throughout your career. As part of the World Cup winning squad in 2015, a Baggy Green to your name, but surely none of that is as high on your list as taking the first Big Bash hat-trick way back.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's it. It was... Unfortunately, when everyone gets mentioned, people just keep telling me that the last LBW was missing off stump. It's like, who cares? Like, it was a sweep shot. It looked out. The umpire gave it out. We had a full house in Hobart that day, and I think every year when the Big Bash rolls around, it gets a few clips on Instagram and Facebook and whatever else. So my kids love it. So, it was certainly a highlight. But as you mentioned, the World Cup and that Ashes series, unfortunately, didn't go the way that we'd planned. But getting a Baggy Green was right up there, as was some of the Shield wins as well. I played in a Shield win, which growing up watching Tassie play and. I missed out on them winning their first one. So to win in 10-11 was another highlight as well. So, I feel very fortunate at the end looking back. There were quite a few to pick from. So, and across all formats. So I feel very lucky to have had the cricket journey that I did.
And I was just scanning through a few scorecards before we chatted. Some big names that you've taken as well. Jawarden, Sangakkara, those sorts. Any that stick out as favourite wickets that you've taken?
Yeah, well, I think I got Mahela out a couple of times early, where I reckon he just dropped his guard against this young left arm offie. So I don't know, and getting Kumar out, I think I got him out. I think I might have only got him out. I got him out on debut as well. It was actually a really nice ball that he tried to sweep, and it was just like the perfect seam to a left-hander, like just sort of perfect seam, perfect rotations, and. Knocked over his leg stump. So they're certainly knocking over those two who are, again, one of the greats of international cricket, particularly in the last sort of 30 years. Certainly right up there.
Good ones to have in the back pocket for sure. Where's the Baggy Green? Is it on display or is it tucked away in a sock drawer somewhere?
This is quite funny because I've actually just walked into my bedroom and it's in my bedside drawer.
There it is.
There it is. And to be fair, that's the first time it's been dragged out, and that is the honest truth. since my kids went and grabbed it out, maybe 18 months ago. So it's certainly not on display. Maybe it will be one day, but just sits in its bag in my bedside drawer, and rarely sees the light of day.
Don't let the moths get to it, mate. Make sure it's taken care of.
No, I'll look after it. So all good.
Good stuff. I'll appreciate your time. Thanks for the chat, and all the best with the match refereeing going forward.
Lovely. Thanks for your time, Josh.
All right, so that was Xavier Doherty, new match referee, and some really good highlights during his Australian career. 4 test matches. As he said there, he's keeping the Baggy Green in the bedside table at the minute. I would have thought, this is coming from very much a non-player, but if I played test cricket for Australia, I'm having that Baggy Green on display in a cabinet, in a frame somewhere. You got to know. You got to put it on show, surely.
On the mantelpiece.
Definitely.
At least on the bedside table.
Yeah.
For show, wouldn't you?
You would have thought, but his was tucked away neatly, and he said he doesn't bring it out ever. So, I guess that's each individual's choice, but I'd be putting it on display.
I reckon it's a good question to ask past players when you get them on for future.
Okay.
Anyone who's played Test cricket. I do remember going over Sean Tate's house once. We were there. It was like a house party, and we'd had a few, and I asked him, "Where's your Baggy?" And he actually didn't know. So, and knowing him. He's not lying either. He would have no idea where it is. So if you live next to an ex-test cricketer, it's a good chance it could be laying around in their backyard, so keep an eye on it.
Yeah, wow. A lot of people say it's the most prized possession, but again, I suppose for some people like Sean Tate who maybe aren't as obsessed with that sort of thing, it's just another piece of cricket kit, isn't it?
Well, it is, but it is the most prized possession in Australia. Is it Australian sport or Australian? Well, it's obviously Australian cricket. It'd be up there in Australian sport, up there in world sport.
Well, there's not that many other similar things, are
Symbolic,
there?
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So, but again, like you say, some people, their upbringings are a bit different. Sean grew up in the bush and not sure he ever thought he was going to play Test cricket. So, Travis Head would be another one. He finishes playing. I wonder what he'll do with this memorabilia because I can't imagine it's going to be on display in the house.
Well, you'd know better than I would. Let's go to the Shield and the domestic side of things as we touched on with Tasmania are into the One Day Cup final. They're going to play New South Wales on March 11. It's been 16 years since Tassie have won the One Day Cup. In fact, since Xavier was playing. So they look good at the minute, but they've lost their last couple, although both of these teams will be pretty stacked come that final on March 11. So it's going to be down in Hobart. The Blues just beat them there last week pretty convincingly. Curtis Patterson is on track for one of the most prolific one-day series of all time. Who's your pick for this one?
Well, I did say at the start of the summer that I had good feelings about Tasmania.
You did, didn't you?
And I may have been talking Shield cricket, but let's not worry about that now. So I think at home, you say they beat them last week. There was a few guys not playing that maybe will in the final. I wonder, Nathan Ellis, will he be available to play? And then do New South Wales get their full repertoire of players available? Where's Steve Smith? Is Mitchell Starc still around? So there's a few questions that need to be answered. But I think if you're going off what we saw last week with Tassie's additions, I know Jordan Silk didn't play, so I still like them. And Mitch Owen, the way he started that innings, if he just didn't manage to nick that one, I think he would have possibly made 150 off 50 balls. So they're dangerous, Tassie. But also New South Wales have come really good after the Big Bash, haven't they? So, which is interesting with everything that's happening there off field, how they've kind of turned things around. So it's always good to see New South Wales playing well, because there is a famous sign in the change rooms of the SCG. When New South Wales cricket is strong, Australian cricket is strong. And we're starting to see New South Wales bounce back. So it's good for everyone.
Is that where that saying comes from? The change rooms at the SCG?
It's a Don Bradman signed frame. I really wanted to steal it and put it up in my shed at home, but I thought it's probably been there 100 years. So I'm not sure if it's the origins are from that. Well, it's obviously not from that photo, but it's a famous saying going way back. Slightly arrogant, but
we've all heard the saying though, haven't we? Yeah.
It's a famous one. So New South Wales are coming good. So Australian fans get excited.
That would be a real power play to bring Starc, Smith back, just parachute them in for the final. It's been done before.
Zampa,
yeah. If you're Greg Shipperd and you're in your last match coaching this side, are you wanting to bring those big guns in, or are you going to stick with the guys who have got you to that position?
You're doing whatever you have to do to win, don't you? So as much as it would suck for the young guys that played last week and got them into a final.
Sorry, Tanvir, Adams arrived.
Well, they go to spin, and sorry, I don't know who am I missing, but someone else that's probably played all year that has done really well that doesn't get – I don't know. It won't. I doubt it happens, because I think those guys would probably say no. But watch this space.
You never know. In the Sheffield Shield, the Vics, they are going to host that Shield final. 2 rounds still to go, and they've already locked it away. So they have just been the dominant team so far this season. Queensland and South Australia battling out for second place at the minute. I mean, Tasmania and New South Wales are still a slim chance of qualifying, but you'd have to say it's between the Bulls and the former Redbacks. Now, at the minute, as you touched on, Sammy Harper was the star of last round with 2 centuries. And, yeah, I mean, it's really just who's going to make out the numbers, it seems like, at the minute. The Vics look super strong. They've got a totally stacked team at the minute. Scott Boland is of course, there and will be playing all the way through to that final. So can anybody beat them, or is it just theirs to lose at this stage?
Well, when you have the home final, it's yours to lose, isn't it? And to do it with 2 rounds to go SA was similar last year in terms of how dominant they were in the in the season. But I mean, over the course of a 5-day game, anything can happen. And conditions we see are always good for bowling. But when it is your home ground, do you flatten the wicket and just it's a boring draw, or at least a sporting game?
I mean, draw isn't enough anymore. You need
that's
to
a good
have
point.
the bonus points.
So I'm obviously not up with that, but I still think over 5 days you're going to have a result. When guys, at the moment, Shield cricket goes for 3 days, doesn't it? So to have an extra 2 days basically to find a result means they will. Victoria just have this. They've got everyone back now, don't they? There's no one missing. Matt Short's back. Ollie Peake's back from under-19s. He's in their team. Scott Boland, as you said, their bowlers are fit. So touch wood. I mean, if they keep that together, they're going to be hard to beat.
Glenn Maxwell, do you bring him back in as well?
There you go. Has he retired from 4-day cricket? No, he hasn't. I'm the wrong person to ask about who's retired and who's still plays.
Clearly.
So, I'm not sure, but embarrassment of riches. And we spoke about their young guys coming through at the start of the season, how they've probably got the most upside with young guys coming through, and now they're getting him into the team that's doing well. And, for Ollie Peake's development to play in a Shield final, win a Shield final at his age, what benefit that will have later in his career. So, they're an amazing place going forward.
Yeah. WA, they have obviously had a golden generation. They won 3 titles in a row and 2 one-day cups. Adam Voges led them through that whole period. He's going to finish up with them at the end of this season. And it does look like they're going to claim the wooden spoon for the second consecutive year. But despite that, he has overseen probably the most dominant period in this state's history. He's going to do some franchise stuff. He'll stick with the Scorchers, but he's just going to finish up with WA. It's a sad way to finish his legacy, I suppose, but he's already done so much for them. And we've seen him produce many, many Australian players and win so many titles.
Yeah, and I think you say back-to-back spoons, but would you take that if you won 3?
I think you would.
I think you would.
Yeah.
If you win three trophies, you'd take going back a little bit. And I think the problem, their problem has been just their bowling, whether guys have been unavailable through Australian selection in terms of Jai. Jai's been kind of here, there and everywhere, but also just never had the same guys consistently on the field. And even this year, Matt Kelly started out like a house on fire and then hasn't been able to get back. Joel Paris as well has been, I mean, his first class record is unrivaled in terms of his numbers, but again, just not being able to play consistently enough, and it's hard without that consistent bowling group. And Victoria this year and South Australia last year have proved that if you've got 5 or 6 bowlers you can kind of rotate, keep fresh, that's the secret to winning on these wickets that are so good for bowling. So, but yeah, Adam Voges, I mean, amazing. He went from playing, you know, almost captain of the group to next year coach, and that can be a hard transition to go straight into, you know, coaching guys that you were having beers with last year. But he's managed to find the way to do it beautifully, and he's, as you said, his legacy will be there forever in terms of a three-peat, and then the one-day cups they won as well. So he's turned that state around, and the players they've produced to play for Australia as well has to be mentioned, because for a period of time there that wasn't coming out of WA, and now you look at them and it's almost an international team they've produced over, you know, his tenure there. So great job from him.
Totally, yep. And some more young guys coming through, and your Connollys and your Beardmans and those sorts. So some good stuff happening there at WA despite the results. And you just did touch on those fast bowling groups. Victoria, obviously, at the minute have Boland. They've got Fergus O'Neill, Sam Elliott and Mitch Perry. They've all pretty much played all season. They're all up there at the top wicket takers. South Australia last year had those guys as well, with your McAndrews and your Doggetts and your Buckinghams. And you touched on Buckingham a little bit earlier, but it just brought to mind that story that appeared a couple of weeks ago that he was the boy on the front of the Milo cereal box. Did you see that?
I didn't see it.
Yeah, so he was part of a photo shoot when he was 10 or something.
Really?
Or maybe it was the neutral grain box. I can't really remember.
So it was Milo. Well, Milo's in cricket now with the blast and stuff, but I don't know. I didn't. This didn't come across my desk, so I'll.
All right, question without notice.
Okay,
we'll circle back to that next week.
All right, there you go. Fun fact: I'm a big fan. He was actually one of my breakout players of the year. So
he was.
Big fan of his work, and got to mention in the bowling action. So big fan of Bucky. He probably hasn't had the year on field he wanted, but he was on cereal boxes at 10. So you're going to have these up and downs. You know,
that's right.
He's one of these Hollywood stars from a young age. So no doubt, some good seasons to come.
Yeah, we love Bucky, so shout out to him, and know that he listens to the show as well. Let's finish with Hey Richo. We've got a listener question in for you to cap this one off today. It comes in from Nigel, and he says, with more cricket on TV that you'll be watching now that you're retired, who would your ideal commentary team be? Give us your Mount Rushmore of commentators. That's a good way to finish.
Without notice as well.
Yeah.
Tough.
There's a lot to go through these days too, isn't there?
Can we go... Is it, if Mount Rushmore mean dead or alive?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, because we want Richie.
Yeah, Richie's in there, yeah.
Richie has to be there. He's the captain. Yeah. He will always be the captain.
Yeah.
Ricky Ponting, I think, is the current day captain, isn't he? Insights unrivaled. Crystal ball. Just
predictions.
Knows what's going to happen. So always tune in when he's on. 2 more. Mount Rushmore has 4, doesn't it?
I think so, yeah.
2 more. I will go a Michael Hussey again.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Mr. Cricket. If you got the nickname Mr. Cricket, you're going to know what's going on.
Yeah. Get him in the lab and
get him in the lab,
pointing at the screens, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. And at lunch break as well, he'll be
hitting catches.
Just doing something, having a net. Oh, 4th is tough. There's so many good ones over the years. Funny, he's not going to make it, but Pommie, I love listening to Pommie Mbangwa.
Yeah,
amazing.
The passion is unrivaled.
Yeah.
Why can't he make it then?
Well, there's just so many. He's an unlucky omission.
Okay, I'll put him as emergency.
But again, like when I was growing up, Mark Nicholas was Mike Atherton,
Bill Laurie.
There's so many. Tony Gregg. Oh, look, captain's call. I'm gonna need to phone a friend for number 4 because I can't pick.
Who are you going to phone?
You. And I'm ringing you right now and you're answering.
Okay. Well, you've got 2 special comments there.
Yep.
We need another call. I'm going to go Bill Lowry.
Okay.
Just the Victorian bias.
Yeah.
The screaming at the wicket. I
Yeah.
love it. He's just got an iconic voice, and I wish we got to hear a bit more of it.
What if it's a T20 game?
Okay. If it's T20, well, then we'll go Pommie, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
All
fair.
right.
All
I'm not sure Richie will love commentating T20s either. Maybe he'll just do the kind of the
intro.
intro, just the
Yeah.
important stuff as people kind of turn the TV on, and then we'll get the brain trust cooking on the
He's
match
got the
billing.
Bruce McAvaney intro,
Yes.
and then
Yeah.
throw to the.
I think
that's pretty good.
you happy with that?
I'm very happy.
You are a Victorian as well, so you're always going to go Bill Lowry, weren't you?
Yeah, he's a Victorian.
Yeah. And is he Shield final?
Well, there's an opportunity. Absolutely.
Get him back.
Absolutely.
Wonder what he's doing. Pigeons.
Pigeons, I'd say so. Yeah.
Has he retired? I'm the wrong guy to ask.
Maybe we'll have to get him on the pod.
Absolutely.
All right. Good stuff, Richo.
Enjoyed
Another week
that.
done.
Yep.
And we'll catch you next week.
Look forward to it. Thanks, Josh.